See you soon. Democrats insist that they do not have a messaging problem. A New York Times op-ed lays out the, quote, real problem the party has facing charismatic candidates like Mamdani and Donald Trump, saying, quote, it's not enough to point out a transgressive candidate's shortcomings. You have to offer voters something better. And few Democrats seem to be able to do that, like Mr. Trump and his Make America Great Again promise. Mr. Mamdani offers a simplistic message. He can decree a more affordable city. Even if Mr. Cuomo or Mr. Adams had a coherent message to offer, they would make selling it harder just by being themselves.
Socialist Zohran Mamdani getting some cold shoulder.
My grandmother used to say, if you can't hear, you must feel. And this whole thing with Zohran is starting to make me think that people are going to have to learn the hard way. I said it like when I first heard his name, I was like, please let this guy win. But the more I see it, I think that this is going to be a blessing in disguise for a lot of people who are conservatives. However, you can't just view things as left and right. People get hurt with bad ideas. So if this man becomes mayor, and in my book, he's already won. I just think he's already won because, you know, Cuomo doesn't really have a realistic chance unless everybody else drops out. And Eric Adams, everyone's turned on him because he decided that he was going to actually work with Donald Trump on the whole immigration and border things to a degree. And then they turned on him, and then he got all these allegations against him, and everyone's turned on him. So let's just see what's going on with Zohran and what the prospects are. And I'm going to react to some of the news that's coming out about his poll results at the moment.
As he meets with top New York Democrats trying to secure their endorsements for mayor. This comes as a new poll shows former Governor Andrew Cuomo taking the lead over Mamdani, but if all other candidates were to drop out. According to the poll, if the two candidates go head-to-head, Cuomo would win with 52% of the vote compared to 41%. So, Pompliano, is this a sign the Mamdani movement may be losing enough steam for him not to become mayor?
Well, I think two things that are worth talking about here. You miscategorized our friend Mamdani. He's not a socialist, he's a communist.
Okay, fine.
And I think that is a much more not only accurate description, but people in America, some people are sympathetic to socialism because they feel like the capitalistic system has left them behind. Nobody is sympathetic to communism.
I don't know who this guy is. I think today was the first time that I've seen him, but I like him. He seems awfully serious, though. But what he's saying there is partially true. I think the socialist, this whole idea of socialism is warm and fuzzy and feels good if you're young and you are idealistic. But once you've lived life for a while, you realize that everybody on this planet does not have a good intent or good nature. And also that some people are just lazy. And it's not fair for those of us who work hard and are willing to make sacrifices and build businesses to then subsidize other people. Some people are just lazy. Some people will go the path of least resistance. As far as communism, he'd be surprised. There are a lot of people, especially young people, who, again, are idealistic, don't understand history, and probably their hearts are bigger than their minds because they think this whole idea of everybody being equal and having the same thing is a good thing, not realizing that there's always going to be an elite. And these are usually the aristocrats. These are the people that sell the idea, but don't get impacted by the bad implementation of a bad idea.
And so I think that describing his policies correctly is
I met a few, but maybe not enough to elect the guy. I don't know.
Now, second thing is actually Mamdani had a huge advantage because he's a young guy. His mom is a film director, and he had a very young staff, and they're very good at creating content on social media. And both Cuomo and Eric Adams both basically were doing everything themselves. And if you noticed, for the last 6 months or so, they weren't doing a lot of social media. They weren't doing a lot of videos. They weren't doing this stuff. I've had an opportunity to have dinner with Eric Adams. I've also talked with the Cuomo campaign. And guess what they've all done in the last 6 weeks or so? They're hiring a lot of young people, a lot of people who know how to make TikTok videos, Instagram videos, memes, tweet for them, etc. I saw recently Andrew Cuomo tweeted something and somebody said, sir, excuse me, this is a Wendy's. And he responded with, I'd like some fries with that. And so
Isn't it crazy how we now live in an age where these little short bits of content by people who sometimes are just being paid to make the content, other times people are just putting out random things, but most of the time people are just trying to be controversial and get clicks and followers. These are the things that are shaping our elections. These are the things that are getting people involved and engaged, but they're not giving us an explanation of the policies. And people don't seem to really care about the policies. It feels like now in politics, not just in the US, but globally, it's all about personality. And as much as they criticize Donald Trump, his personality has been honed and shaped over 30, 40 years of being a mogul in property, than being on television, and just being a unique character. Because there's a lot of things that Trump has done that I'm like, dude, this is completely off base. You should not be doing this. But he stands 10 toes down on whatever he's doing, much to the chagrin of the people around him, probably. Even though Trump 47 versus Trump 45 is a more reserved, more pragmatic. I'm not saying he is being pragmatic, but he's certainly more pragmatic than he was before. He's still a unique character. He freestyles, he has comic timing. He's an entertaining person, unlike a lot of other politicians. And he got on that media game quick, fast, and in a hurry. It seems like, I think he said that his son Barron, was the one that encouraged him to do it. So he has all of those things covered. But Zorhan and people like him, they have learned how to use social media to shape the narrative. This is one of the things that AOC has going for her. She has a huge online following.
If you think Andrew Cuomo's tweeting that, right, you got something else that you should be thinking about. So that's what's really happening here. Now we have young people in these campaigns fighting Mamdani's young people, and I think that that's what's going to ultimately determine.
Yeah, but it all comes down to somebody's got to get over their ego and drop out of this race. You're a very humble guy. I know you don't know anything about ego, but what do you think? Can it happen?
I am a humble guy, actually, but I'll tell you what the analogy I think we can all use to feel better about this. I don't want to be too optimistic, but, I'm not a fan of this Mondavi guy because he won't give me any policy, and I'm an investor. I need policy. And I am one of the investors that have asked for a meeting with him through staffers, and all I get is crickets. So let's put that out there. But if you recall, let me draw the analogy to last September, October, and the beginning of November in the overall election, when you got to remember Kamala Harris came out and was killing it with rhetoric and winning.
Facts. She definitely was. When she first came out the gate, I think part of it was people were just tired of the whole old guy versus old guy, Trump versus Biden. And there was this new, fresh face. She came out, she had everybody just wanting to will her into being the president. There was the whole thing about the potential again of having our first female president and the first Black female president, or Indian female president, whatever she is, right? That was exciting. And she came out the gates and she sucked up all the oxygen in the media. And the more she spoke, the more her numbers dropped. She's not good at what she does. And that's not me being mean. That's just being real. She's not a good speaker. She's not confident. She seems like she has anxiety. So the rumors and the allegations that she drinks, I can get it. Maybe she does it to take the edge off.
Her poll numbers kept going up and up and up right after the convention where she was anointed. Not a process, she just got anointed. Nobody really knew anything about her except she just said the right things over and over again. No policy whatsoever. And the longer it went on, slowly but surely in the swing states, because I'm a big numbers guy watching swing state votes, it started to not work anymore because people said, how come she won't do an interview? She won't even come to the big money show. She won't even come to Fox. She won't talk to anybody. And she keeps saying the same four things and not that well. This is what's happening right now with this campaign. Somebody, and I'm just one guy, saying, I'd like some policy, please. Please, sir, can I have some more policy, please? Because I'm not hearing any of it. And all it is the same five things he says every day. Money for nothing, chicks for free, free buses, free rent, free everything. I got it already. I've heard that story. How are you going to do it?
But with that said, like the average voter, and I'm not putting anyone down, but the average voter, that's enough. They just need to keep hearing that thing. They're not thinking about the how it's going to be done. When they're hearing that they're going to get free stuff, that there's going to be rent control, that you're going to tax the rich, all of the things that they want to hear, they don't need to understand the how. And this is how a lot of the people in the squad got elected. None of them have really made any meaningful change as far as legislation in their areas. And that's one of the things that you will always find. They'll speak this, they'll talk the talk, they won't walk the walk. They're very good on social media. These late night shows love having them on there because it's a good soundbite and it's very entertaining. But as far as getting stuff done, they don't get much stuff done. So I'm not going to knock Zohan for just saying the same four things, because those are the things that put him out front. And the more serious politicians are saying the serious stuff, but the average voter is not listening. The average voter doesn't understand the policies, and you just need to use emotion and trigger words. Oh, you know, the Republicans are racist. They're going to put you back in chains. Those are the things that are going to motivate people to come out and vote. Either they'll be voting for someone, or in many cases, they're just voting against someone else.
Tell me how you're going to do it. And I'm an investor. I want to build some affordable housing. Tell me how I can make money if I have frozen rent controls. And everybody's starting to think about that and say, you know what? There is no policy, just like Kamala. And she cratered in the 7 swing states. She got slaughtered in those states.
So is the Dire Straits campaign falling apart or not?
No. I love the poll, though. It's like, if everybody just drops out, like, then Cuomo could somehow beat Mamdani. Cuomo, the only kind of image makeover might be if he magically got reincarnated as like Jack Kennedy and looked like him. Like, even a Jack Kennedy mask couldn't snow people, because people in New York and the voters know too much about him, and they've seen him too much, and they've heard him too much. And side note, taking a share of intel and crowing about it doesn't help the case against socialism.
See, usually name recognition is going to work in your favor, but I think with Cuomo, he's cooked. I think, you know, his father was governor, then he was governor, then his brother has all his drama going on with the CNN stuff. But I don't think people are really feeling him. And then the age thing. I think really, I'm shocked that Eric Adams has not had a second coming, especially when I kind of figure if he'd railed against Trump a lot more and continued to fight against Trump like a lot of the other blue state governors and the blue state mayors have done, like what's happened out in Chicago. I think if he had just been hardcore against Trump, this election would have been a shoo-in for him. I don't think he would have had any problems being reelected. I think what sealed his fate was the moment he conceded to some of the ideas that Trump was putting forth, because he saw that New York was being overwhelmed by immigration because of the whole thing of shipping the people from Texas. That was a genius move by Governor Abbott. That was a genius move, because he made people realize that you can say you're a sanctuary city because you're up north and you're not being impacted, but let me send some of these people that we're absorbing every single day. So Cuomo cooked. He's not going to pull out. I don't think Eric Adams is going to pull out. And then Sliwa on the conservative side, he doesn't have a chance. So Mamdani, he's going to win. Like, it's a done deal. It's a done deal unless something really drastic happens.
I'll just leave it at that.
Tiffany, you are not a New Yorker. Okay, we talk about this a lot because there's a sense that it matters for the country.
Yeah.
Are you watching this and saying this is an indicator of what the future could be in America? Well, how do you read it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fascinating game of what ifs, right? And at the end of the day, candidates, you know, running campaigns don't always use common sense. Yes, if they all dropped out, Cuomo could win, but they're not going to. Let's be honest. They won't. They all have their shtick and what they're fighting for, so they're not going to drop out. But I think this has massive implications for our country. Mamdani is by far the most far left communist candidate our country has ever seen, full stop. And I think what's interesting is to watch is this the new Democrat Party? Because moderate Democrats have no home in this country right now. There's no leadership. They're literally crumbling right before our eyes. And is this their leader? Is this who they're willing to back? I think something else to watch is the amount of money that he is raising. He's raising money from California, from the West Coast. He's not raising money from New Yorkers, from investors who want to build here. He's raising money around the country from these radical far left Democrats who want him in office, who want him to be the leader of the Democrat Party, who want this new world, this new far left, crazy, radical world that we've sort of had to endure over the last 4 years.
See, the people that want that aren't going to be the people that are impacted by it. So this experiment that they're going to do with New York, I grew up in the Bronx and I love New York. It's a great city, probably one of, if not the greatest city on the planet. So people are willing to do this social experiment with probably the financial capital of the world. So you have this guy who's not even trying to dress it up. He's just coming up saying, I don't support capitalism. There should be no such thing as billionaires. And people are buying it. But the people, I think the average, everyday working person in New York who's up on politics, is not backing him. But what you do find, you have a lot of younger people who have no clue about the policies, no real clue about life because they're young. I'm not knocking them. I was there at one point as well. But they have no clue, and it all sounds good because they feel like money just falls from the sky, and why shouldn't we be able to buy a house, and why are rents going up? They don't understand capitalism. They don't understand how money is made. Money doesn't fall out of the sky. So you can't just redistribute wealth because wealth isn't distributed in the first time. Wealth is earned and built. So this is really sad. But I will say, in the grand scheme of things, if it all goes pear-shaped and he actually wins, which I think he will, I think very quickly people will see what a huge mistake it was. It will be a rallying point for the Republicans as you approach the midterm. It will be the focus of a lot of the commercials and a lot of the political ads that the Republicans make. And hopefully we'll get that swing that happens with everything. So, Trump was a response to Obama, and then Biden was a response to Trump, and then Trump was a response to Biden again. So you get these swings, but sometimes you need that drastic shakeup, which I think Zoran Mamdani will be. But it's sad to me that people live in one of the greatest countries on the earth and they despise the things that made the country so great. It's just really sad to me that more people aren't more involved in looking at the policies and saying, like O'Leary was saying, well, how are you going to pay for this?
Yeah.
And thank God the American people stepped up and President Trump won in November for our country. But you can essentially buy votes. So it will be fascinating to see how much money he raises and how he can pick off those votes. Each voter is a certain dollar sign, and if he can do that,
look, I'll always say
he could be the future leader of the Democrat Party.
If you're counting on Cuomo to reincarnate somehow to win this election, you are wishing on a star, and I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. It's definitely not going to work. And like I said, it's really sad to think that we're in a place where he is the front runner for mayor of New York. But I guess in his defense, he's been honest. He hasn't hidden it. He's just been very open about his views. He's been very forthright with how he feels about capitalism. So, hey, we live in a democratic society. So if people vote for him, you get what you vote for. But hopefully, if this does happen, and I think it will mean that we'll get to see the experiment in real time, and there will be a backlash against that. And maybe that will then mean that for the 2028, so first and foremost, for the midterms, that the conservatives can pick up some seats, so the Republicans can pick up some seats in the Senate and in the House. And if that happens and the Trump agenda is successful, and I pray for the country that, and every presidential administration is successful, but if this particular one is successful, then that means a JD Vance presidency in 2028, or maybe Rubio. Who knows? But it will mean another 4 years of Republican administration, and you can't really get much done in 4 years. Although I will say, in the first 6 to 8 months of the Trump administration, Trump 47, that is, he's got a lot done. And as depending on how you feel about him, that will determine whether you think that's good or bad. But that whole adage, which I just said, of you can't do much in 4 years, I think he's proven that wrong. So we will see. Make sure that you share this video with friends and family who just want to get a more nuanced view of things. I do my best to just kind of call it as I see it and not just be partisan. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent free thinker. And so if I see good that, the Democrats are doing, I'll shout them out. If I see good that the Republicans are doing, I'll shout them out. But I am like conservative leaning in my worldview. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure that you read the policies. And when you vote in the best interest of your friends and family. I always appreciate your subscriptions and your comments, even the mean ones. Like I always say, I don't get it all right. I'm just a guy with a Wi-Fi connection and a camera. Thanks for watching, and make sure that you share this video.